The Young and the Restless spoilers next 2 week March 3rd to March 14th in the turbulent corridors of power, where alliances shift like the wind and old grudges fuel new conflicts. The stage is set for another explosive chapter in the lives of the Abbott and Newman families. The ever-complex tapestry of relationships is fraying at the edges, and every whispered secret adds another knot to the convoluted web that now ensnares them all. A legacy of distrust. Diane had never harbored any fondness for Phyllis. From the moment their paths crossed, Diane's disdain for Phyllis was unmistakable. Determined to preserve her own standing within the Abbott family, Diane made it her mission to tarnish Phyllis's reputation at every opportunity. Whether through sly insinuations or overt attempts to block her appearances at family gatherings, Diane's relentless campaign against Phyllis was a calculated maneuver meant to keep a formidable rival at bay. For Diane, Phyllis wasn't just an unwanted competitor, she was a threat to the order and influence Diane believed the Abbott family should command. Business betrayals and the mystery of the spy. The simmering tensions within the Abbott dynasty were not confined to personal vendettas alone. Jack, the patriarch of Jabot, a thriving business empire renowned for its secret formulas and industry-defining innovations, found himself increasingly enraged by the continual leaks of sensitive business information. These weren't ordinary leaks. They were revelations of the inner workings and guarded secrets of Jabot that had long been kept under lock and key. Every breach of confidentiality not only jeopardized the company's competitive edge but also threatened the very reputation of the Abbott family. For months, Jack had been tormented by the identity of the mole. Whispers had once pointed to Kyle, a former insider who had once stolen Jabot's secret formula and passed it along to Victor. But with Kyle's recent return to the family fold, many had assumed that the dark chapter of corporate espionage was finally behind them. Yet now, in a twist that deepened the mystery, Jack's suspicions had shifted. The blame was falling on Billy. Accusations flew like daggers in the boardroom, and the tension between Jack and Billy mounted with every new leak. Was Billy truly behind the betrayal, or was he merely a scapegoat in a far more intricate game of deception? The answers, it seemed, were as elusive as the spy's true identity. Nick's dilemma, a hero torn by duty amidst the relentless power plays and bitter rivalries, Nick found himself cast as the reluctant hero in one of the most heart-wrenching crises the families had ever faced. The kidnapping of Sharon and Phyllis had rocked the very foundation of trust and loyalty that bound their intertwined destinies. As the investigation advanced and the pressure intensified, it became painfully clear that Nick had been given an impossible ultimatum. He was allowed to save only one of the two women. Every moment of inaction, every tick of the clock, brought the kidnapped victims closer to a fate worse than death. Nick's heart was torn in two, each woman represented a different piece of his fractured world. Phyllis, with her strength and resilience in the face of relentless personal attacks, had long been a figure of both admiration and controversy. Sharon, on the other hand, embodied vulnerability and quiet fortitude, her life now hanging precariously in the balance. The choice was not merely a matter of life and death, it was a moral crucible that forced Nick to question every belief he once held sacred. Caught between his loyalty to the family and the undeniable need to rescue the innocent, Nick's internal battle was as fierce as the external one raging around him. Every decision carried the weight of countless lives, and the consequences of choosing one over the other would echo far beyond the immediate crisis. Who could he save? And at what personal and familial cost would that salvation come? Victor, the prime suspect and the master manipulator complicating matters further, was the looming shadow of Victor, now the prime suspect in a case that had grown too tangled to ignore. His reputation, built on a foundation of both ruthless ambition and undeniable influence, now stood at risk as evidence began to mount. Victor's involvement in a series of clandestine operations, including the very orchestration of the kidnapping plot, was a bombshell that could shatter not only his legacy but also the delicate balance between the warring families. Despite being the most powerful man in their midst, Victor had proven to be an enigma. His ability to weave intricate schemes and maintain an iron grip on his network was legendary, but it also made him incredibly difficult to pin down. To bring Victor to justice and gather the necessary evidence against him was a task fraught with peril. Every move had to be calculated, every action masked by layers of subterfuge. The challenge was not only in exposing him but also in dismantling the intricate network of loyalty and secrecy that had long shielded him from the consequences of his deeds. The uncertain road ahead as the families grappled with personal betrayals and external threats, the corridors of power became battlegrounds for rival ambitions. Diane's relentless campaign to discredit Phyllis, Jack's desperate quest for the truth behind the leaking secrets, and the fierce internal conflict between Jack and Billy set the stage for an explosive confrontation. Each side dug in deeper, their motivations a complex blend of self-interest, loyalty, and an unyielding desire to maintain control over their respective domains. For Nick, the path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty. His role as the savior in the kidnapping crisis was now inextricably linked with a harrowing personal decision that threatened to tear his world apart. Would he manage to save Phyllis, a symbol of resilience and defiance, or would he rescue Sharon, whose quiet strength and vulnerability struck a chord deep within him? The answer was not clear, and every passing moment only deepened the complexity of his choice. In a world where every action had repercussions and every secret was a ticking time bomb, the stakes had never been higher. The conflicting forces of ambition, loyalty, and morality were converging, setting the stage for a reckoning that promised to alter the lives of everyone involved. As Victor continued to operate from the shadows and the clock ticked inexorably towards an uncertain future, one thing was clear: the truth, however painful, had to be revealed, and the price of silence was measured in lives shattered and relationships torn asunder. The crossroads of confrontation in the midst of these high-stakes power plays, the underlying tension between personal relationships and professional rivalries, could no longer be ignored. Nick's impending decision regarding whom to rescue was a microcosm of the broader battle being waged within the families. Every whisper of betrayal and every act of defiance was a reminder that the forces at work were not easily reconciled. The intricate dance of loyalty and deception had reached a fever pitch, and with Victor at the center of the maelstrom, the future of the Newman and Abbott legacies hung in the balance. The confrontation was inevitable. With the evidence mounting and the truth pushing its way into the light, the moment of reckoning was at hand. As Jack and Billy's conflict threatened to spiral out of control over the business secrets leaking from Jabot, and as Diane continued her smear campaign against Phyllis, the individual struggles of each character intertwined with the collective fate of their families. Every decision made in the coming days would send ripples through the interconnected lives of those involved. Nick's heart ached with the weight of his impending choice, knowing that whichever path he chose, the consequences would forever alter the delicate fabric of their world. In this labyrinth of alliances, enmities, and desperate gambits, the lines between friend and foe blurred into obscurity, leaving each character to confront the harsh reality that sometimes the only way to move forward is to sacrifice a piece of oneself. The battle for redemption in the final analysis, the intricate narratives of personal vendettas, corporate espionage, and moral dilemmas painted a picture of a world in perpetual conflict, a world where every secret had a price and every betrayal left an indelible scar. The families were on a collision course with destiny, and only time would tell whether they could mend the shattered pieces of their lives or if the cycle of deceit and retribution would continue unabated. With Victor looming as the ultimate enigma and scapegoats emerging from unexpected quarters, the question remained: who would come out on top in this intricate game of power and betrayal? And more pressingly, who would bear the burden of sacrifice as the shattered remnants of trust were painstakingly rebuilt? In this crucible of conflict, where the past met the present in a clash of wills and where every secret threatened to ignite a new war, one truth remained constant: the road to redemption was never easy, and in the end, the sacrifices demanded might be too great for anyone to bear. In the tangled world of high-stakes intrigue and personal vendettas, every whispered conversation, every half-truth, carries the potential to ignite a firestorm of consequences. The labyrinth of relationships within this universe of power and betrayal grows ever more intricate, drawing in characters whose personal ambitions, hidden histories, and unspoken desires are as much a part of the drama as the scandals that threaten to shatter the families involved. The discovery that shook foundations Nate's life took an unexpected turn when he inadvertently stumbled upon evidence of a clandestine cover-up orchestrated by Lily, a woman whose actions, until now, had been hidden behind a veneer of calm competence. With eyes wide open to the unfolding deception, Nate found himself questioning the integrity of someone he once trusted implicitly. Lily, it turned out, had been involved in activities that not only blemished her reputation but also cast a long shadow over those closest to her. Convinced that the truth must be unearthed, Lily turned to the one person known for his unmatched ability to peel back layers of secrecy, Victor. Determined to confront the murky past of Damien, a man whose own history was as enigmatic as it was compelling, Lily implored Victor to dig into the depths of Damien's history. What Victor uncovered was a name that resonated with an air of mystery and foreboding: Dumas. The enigma of Dumas. The mere utterance of the name Dumas sent ripples through the corridors of power. Victor's repeated references to Dumas only added to the intrigue, a detail that fans and onlookers alike began to latch onto. Unfortunately, this well-meaning investigation soon gave rise to a dangerous misunderstanding. The persistent echo of Dumas in the media led many to mistakenly associate the mysterious name with the ongoing kidnapping saga, a conflation that further muddied the waters in an already volatile climate. For Nate, the confusion was intolerable. Lily doesn't have the credentials to delve into Damien's past, he argued bitterly. His voice, laced with skepticism, questioned not only her qualifications but also her motives. "What is it that you hope to gain?" Nate demanded, unable to comprehend why Lily would risk her reputation on an investigation that might be better left to those with proven expertise. Yet, for Lily, the stakes were not merely professional, her actions were fueled by a personal longing. A desire to establish something genuine and lasting with Damien, a relationship that went beyond the shallow interactions of the present. The web of accusations. As the investigation into Damien's past unfolded, another explosive claim began to capture the public's attention. Summer, whose reputation for fearless advocacy was well known, persistently declared that Sharon had orchestrated the kidnapping of Phyllis. With a determination born of both righteous indignation and personal loss, Summer vowed to provide indisputable evidence of what she saw as an unspeakable betrayal. Every interview, every public statement, was a clarion call to expose the truth, to reveal the hidden machinations that had turned family members into adversaries. However, amid the clamor of accusations, there was one voice of caution that stood apart from the rest: Chance. Although inclined to side with Summer's impassioned allegations, Chance was a man defined by his careful deliberation and unwavering commitment to the truth. Unlike others, he refused to jump to conclusions. "We must verify every detail," he insisted, his measured tone a stark contrast to the heated declarations of his peers. For Chance, every piece of evidence had to be scrutinized, every theory methodically investigated, before any definitive judgment could be passed. A collision of motives and misunderstandings in this charged atmosphere, motives were as varied as the personalities involved. Lily's pursuit of a serious relationship with Damien was driven by a yearning for connection, a stark counterpoint to Nate's pragmatic skepticism. While Nate saw Lily's actions as reckless and unprofessional, she viewed them as essential steps toward unveiling a hidden truth that could redefine her future with Damien. The delicate balance between personal ambition and professional responsibility was constantly under strain, and every misstep threatened to push the situation from the realm of controlled investigation into outright chaos. Victor's discovery of the name Dumas, though initially a promising lead into the dark corridors of Damien's past, had inadvertently sown seeds of confusion that spread far beyond its intended scope. The persistent mention of Dumas not only intensified the mystery but also led many to mistakenly link this enigmatic figure to the kidnapping case. As fans and critics speculated wildly, the credibility of the investigation teetered on the edge of collapse. The once clear line between unrelated scandals had blurred, with each new piece of gossip only adding layers of complexity to an already convoluted narrative. Meanwhile, Summer's unyielding crusade to prove Sharon's involvement in Phyllis's kidnapping resonated with those who had long felt that justice had been denied. For Summer, every shout, every statement, was a rallying cry against the injustice that had upended lives. However, her zeal also risked polarizing an already divided community, pitting friends against each other in a battle that threatened to unravel long-standing alliances and deep-seated loyalties. The price of truth in a world of secrets. In the midst of these intertwined narratives, each character found themselves caught in a relentless pursuit of truth, a quest that came with a heavy price. Nate's disillusionment with Lily's methods was not born of malice but from a deep-seated concern for the repercussions of reckless investigations. He feared that the misinterpretation of Victor's repeated mentions of Dumas could irreparably damage reputations and divert attention from the real culprits behind the kidnapping. For Nate, the integrity of the investigation was paramount, and any deviation from a methodical, evidence-based approach could lead to catastrophic misunderstandings. Lily, for her part, stood at a crossroads between her personal ambitions and the ethical obligations of her role. Her desire to form a meaningful connection with Damien was interwoven with her commitment to uncovering the secrets that lay hidden in his past. The discovery of Dumas, while a tantalizing clue, raised more questions than answers. Was this mysterious figure a relic of Damien's past misdeeds, or was he a red herring, an inadvertent detail that had been blown out of proportion by the fervor of public opinion? As Lily wrestled with these uncertainties, she became increasingly aware that the path she had chosen was fraught with both promise and peril. Chance's cautious approach offered a beacon of rationality in the storm of allegations and counterclaims. Despite aligning with Summer's accusations in principle, he refused to let emotion override his commitment to objective investigation. His measured insistence on gathering every piece of evidence before drawing conclusions was a reminder that in a world ruled by secrets and shifting allegiances, the truth was often the most elusive prize of all. For Chance, the journey toward justice was not a race against time but a meticulous process of piecing together disparate clues, a process that demanded patience, rigor, and an unwavering adherence to the principles of due diligence. The convergence of paths. As these diverse storylines converged, the stakes continued to rise. The enigmatic name Dumas, the persistent accusations against Sharon, and the polarized views of Nate, Lily, Summer, and Chance all coalesced into a single, inescapable reality. The truth was hidden beneath layers of deception, and its revelation would upend the delicate balance of power within this tumultuous world. With every new twist, the characters were forced to confront not only the external consequences of their actions but also the internal conflicts that defined their very identities. In the coming days, the investigation was set to intensify. The interlocking narratives of corporate espionage, personal ambition, and long-held grudges would drive each character to their limits. Nate, torn between his skepticism and his responsibility to uphold the truth, would continue to challenge the methods and motives of those around him. Lily's quest to forge a meaningful bond with Damien would be tested by the harsh realities of her past missteps and the overwhelming scrutiny of a public desperate for answers. And Summer, ever the passionate crusader, would push relentlessly to prove her claims, even as the evidence remained tantalizingly out of reach. For Victor, the repeated invocation of Dumas was not merely a passing comment. It was a calculated maneuver designed to manipulate the narrative and obscure the true connections between the past and the present. His actions, steeped in a blend of strategic foresight and ruthless ambition, ensured that the investigation would remain mired in uncertainty. And as the media and fans alike scrambled to piece together the puzzle, the risk of misinterpretation loomed large, a risk that threatened to turn allies into enemies and further entrench divisions within an already fractured community. A precarious balance on the edge of revelation. In this crucible of competing interests and hidden truths, every character was forced to navigate a minefield of shifting loyalties and unexpected betrayals. The discovery of Lily's questionable actions, Nate's harsh critique of her qualifications, and Summer's fervent declarations against Sharon were all threads in a larger tapestry, one that chronicled the eternal struggle between ambition and morality, between the desire for personal connection and the harsh demands of justice. As Chance prepared to embark on his own painstaking investigation, the question that hung over everyone was clear. In a world where every secret had a price and every revelation carried the risk of devastating consequences, How much were they all willing to sacrifice in the relentless pursuit of truth? The answers, obscured by layers of deceit and misdirection, would only come to light after a painstaking process of inquiry, one that promised to change the lives of everyone involved, for better or for worse.